going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today is another ranking video. I'm going to try to get all of these MCU rankings out of the way quickly because the year for the MCU is all but over. We had Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home. But today I thought for the first time ever on my channel, I would stop and rank all of the MCU heroes from the worst to the best. Now, I'm getting this list, so I may not hit every single hero. I'm pretty sure I will, but I'm not sure. So one of the YouTubers I follow, his name's Sean Chandler. If you have not checked him out, check him out. He did his list ranking his heroes, so I took every hero that he ranked, put it on a list, and then ranked them myself. So it's not his list. It's the heroes that he listed, but they are ranked to my personal list. I did this also with the villains. That video will be up in the next few weeks where I rank the MCU villains, but that's not what we're talking about. Today we're talking about the heroes. We're talking about the good guys, the guys that we all want to emulate and be someday in our lives. There are 36 on this list. And guys, I'm going to stop rambling. First off, if you are new, thank you so much for checking out the channel. If you want more, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'm not going to give you big reasons why people are listed where they are. I'm not. That would take forever. I'm just letting you guys know right off the bat. But I think without further ado, let's just hop right in. And at number 36 is Quicksilver. Now, he's at the bottom. It's kind of obvious why. We really don't know him or see him at all because you meet him in Age of Ultron, he dies in Age of Ultron. So that's pretty much all you really got to say about Quicksilver. Now, I liked him when he was in the film. I think if he would have survived and been in some more movies, he probably would have been a villain I would have really liked. But unfortunately, he bit the dust in Age of Ultron. He comes at number 36 on the list. Coming in at number 35 is Mantis. Now, this is another one kind of like Quicksilver. We just don't know a lot about Mantis at all. We know more than Quicksilver. That's why she's up higher. But we don't. She's a side character. Yes, she's got powers. She did help in the fight against Thanos, but we just don't know much about her at all. I think she's a good character. I think if she's in more movies, which there's going to be another Guardians of the Galaxy, if she's in more movies, her character may be fleshed out more. We may learn more about her past, but right now, we just don't know that much. So she comes in at number 35 on my list. And coming in at number 34 is Korg. Now, I think Korg is hilarious. I really do. Really like him. I like Taika Waititi's direction with him, but I hate to say it, but again, we just don't know that much about Korg. Now, the reason he's higher than the other two is because I like him more. I think he's a lot more funny. He has some very interesting dynamics with Thor and with the main characters in Ragnarok. And overall, he's just a funny presence. But again, he's only been in Ragnarok and he was in Endgame for a very short time. He's only been in, excuse me, he's only been in those two films for short time. So that's all I really got to say about that. He comes in at number 34 on my list. Coming in number 33 is Baby/Teen Groot. This is going to get a lot of people really mad because of how cute he is and how much people love how cute he is. But in the first movie, in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the first movie he was in, he didn't really bring a lot. He didn't do much, and it was because he's a baby. You know, he's really there for the cute factor and for the jokes and for the funny. I get that. I think that's great. But in terms of being a hero, in the first movie, he doesn't really do much. Then you bring him into Infinity War. He does have more of an arc where he, you know, is an angsty teenage tree and grows up to become the hero that makes Stormbreaker. But overall, he just doesn't do much. He has better arcs than the heroes before him, but overall, he just hasn't done much yet. He has to prove himself a little bit more. I'm sure he will in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and he comes at number 33 on my list. Coming in number 32 is Wong. Now, I personally really like Wong. Again, it's that he's a side character, and he's not fleshed out as much as I would like. He's in Doctor Strange for most of it. He's in Infinity War for the first maybe 20 minutes, and he's in Endgame for the last half an hour. That's all we have from Wong so far. I personally like him as a character a lot. I'm very much looking forward to the next Doctor Strange movie in the Multiverse of Madness. I don't see why Wong would not be a big character in that film. I need him to be fleshed out more. I need more of his backstory. I need to know more about him. But so far, I really enjoy him. I don't have any complaints. It's just, again, there's not enough information. We don't know a lot about him. And he comes at number 32 on my list. Coming in at number 31 is Shuri. Now, again, she's not in that many films. We don't know a lot about her, but she's got this great, fun, sarcastic attitude in this nation of Wakanda that's so serious and stoic, and she brings that lighthearted kind of fun teenage-ness to it. And I like that. And she's also a genius, which plays a really big part in Black Panther with all the technology. So I think she's gonna get fleshed out more in Black Panther 2. We'll have more time to see her. And yeah, she's a great character. I don't have many complaints. But again, we just don't know much about her. So she comes at number 31 on my list. Coming in at number 30 is Mbaku. Same deal. We don't know a lot about Mbaku. Him and Shuri could go back and forth. I think he's a great warrior. He's a big fighter. And he's a good character, very interesting character. But again, we don't know a lot about him. And that's how it's going to be for a majority of these bottom members. That's pretty much it, though. We're going to get into main characters now that we can really talk about. But yeah, Mbaku, number 30 on my list. Coming in number 29 is Falcon. Now, Falcon, I was really torn over where to put Falcon because he's had a relatively interesting, nice character arc up until this point. He's been, for his entire time knowing Steve Rogers, his only loyal guy, because yes, you could say Bucky has always been loyal to him, but when he was being mind controlled as the Winter Soldier, he was not. He was an enemy. Unfortunately, I love Bucky. We'll talk about him later in the video. But Falcon has always been there for Steve Rogers. He's always been there for Cap. And now, of course, with Endgame, he is taking over the mantle of Captain America. I think that's a perfect job. A lot of people think Bucky should, but I understand why they went with Falcon, because Falcon has been the one that's always been there for him. And I do love his character arc, but there are other characters that I feel like I just am more drawn to. I love Anthony Mackie as an actor. I think he's great. I think he will do a lot of really good stuff with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I can almost guarantee after I watch that Disney Plus show, he will go up in my ranking. This is just my first ranking, and again, it pains me because I really like him, but he comes in number 29 on my list. Coming in at number 28 is the Wasp. Now, I love this character since we first met her in Ant-Man. In Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man. She is a very stoic, serious, go-getting hero that finally got her opportunity in Ant-Man and the Wasp and killed it. She did absolutely awesome. I think Evangeline Lilly was the perfect casting for this role. She has one of the more interesting character arcs where she wanted to live up to her mom's shadow, and then finally she gets the opportunity and helps save her mom, and then she comes back and fights with Scott in Endgame, and there's even a little callback to Ant-Man and the Wasp with the Cap and everything. I love that. I love how her arc has gone. I really hope there is an Ant-Man and the Wasp 2/Ant-Man 3. I want to see more of them in action. We may not get it. I may be very sad, but nonetheless, she comes in at number 28 on my list. Coming in at number 27 is Okoye. I think Okoye, out of all of the other Black Panther characters besides Black Panther himself, has had the most interesting character story. She had to make the difficult decision in Black Panther between fighting for the king that she knew was right versus having to serve the king because it's how it was. And yet she had that difficult task, and she had to pick Killmonger because he was the king. But deep down, she knew that T'Challa was the real king, and in the end, she switched, flipped in Black Panther, and then ever since, she's been a great kind of like sidekick. I wouldn't say sidekick because she is her own character, but she is like the right-hand warrior, I would say, to T'Challa. And I really like that. I think that she's really good. I forget how to pronounce her name, and I don't want to botch it, so I'm not going to say it. But she's a great actor. She really is. I love her character. We're going to see more of her in Black Panther 2. She comes in number 27 on my list. Coming in number 26 is Valkyrie. Now, Valkyrie's had one of the most drastic character changes over the course of 2 movies. She wasn't even in Infinity War. She went from being a drunk, junk savage on the planet from Ragnarok to becoming the rightful king of Asgard in Endgame. And I absolutely love Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie. She is great. I love the kind of not caring, but also deep down you know she really does kind of feeling to her attitude. I really enjoy that. I think she works really great with a lot of the characters, especially Thor and Loki. And overall, she's just a great character. I really enjoy her. But she hasn't played as big of a role yet. That's why she's down at number 26. But I think the combination of her as a character and how drastic of a character story she's had so far in only 2 movies puts her at number 26 on my list. Coming to number 25 is Pepper Potts. Now, this one was in Sean's list. I agree with it. She is a hero, but she is down low. And the reason is because she's in a lot of the original movies, and she is like the CEO of Stark Industries, but she hasn't played that big of a role on camera. She only really comes on camera in Endgame being the hero when she puts on the rescue armor. And that's why I would put her on this list. But really, the biggest thing that she does is be the Rock to Tony. And that's one of the most important things because, you know, Tony in Iron Man 3, anxiety, he's always had anxiety. He can't rest until the world is safe. And she has been his rock ever since. She has helped him through it. And up until his death, she was there trying to help him. And that's one of the biggest things. It's one of the reasons why she's higher up on the list. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is great for the role. She is. I don't know if we'll ever see Pepper again. I don't see why we would. I don't think we will. But the times that she was on, she was great. And she comes in at number 25 on my list. Coming in at number 24 is War Machine. Now, you want to talk about another character that's been there since the beginning. You talk about War Machine. I could put him up higher on the list just for being there for the longer time. But in the end, he hasn't done as much to move up higher on the list. He's been there for a long time, but he's played the same. He's done the same thing. He's been the right-hand man to Tony Stark. He's been in the War Machine, and he's fought. And that's all he's done. He hasn't had that drastic of a character arc. You could consider him, like, you know, losing the paralysis in his legs being a big character moment for him. And yes, I will give that to him. But besides that, he hasn't really done a lot of character-driven stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of why he's lower on the list. He's a great character. I love Don Cheadle. I think Terrence Howard was good when he was in Iron Man 1. But yeah, he comes in number 24 on my list. Coming in at number 23 is Vision. Now, this is one of the more complex characters because it's not a human, and it was a creation from Jarvis and Ultron and the Mind Stone. And he has an interesting arc where he comes in as a weapon from the enemy, but then turns into a source of good. Then he has like the love relationship with Wanda, which I thought was kind of weird, but we will let it pass. And then he, of course, dies in Infinity War, and that's it for him. At least we thought, because WandaVision, he is back in WandaVision. So we will see more of the Vision character fleshed out. I think he's got a very interesting arc from being like the creation of a villain and then becoming a hero. I like that. I thought it's great. He comes in number 23 on my list. Coming in number 22 is Bucky Barnes. Now, I could put Bucky higher. I could. I like Sebastian Stan. I think he's great. But in the end, half of the time, he was an anti-hero. I do like anti-heroes. We will talk about another one higher up on my list. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he has had a very interesting story. And now he will be a hero in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm very much looking forward to that. But overall, I think Sebastian Stan's brilliant. He really is. I think, in general, the Bucky character is very interesting in the fact that Steve is always trying to live up to him, even when he becomes Captain America. And Bucky is always there for him. I find that great. I think that relationship between Steve and Bucky is the best. Even to the point where when Steve is about to go in the time machine in Endgame, Bucky already knows he's going back to stay with Peggy. Steve didn't even need to tell him. He already knew. I think that relationship is really why he's higher up on the list than some of these other characters. I think he's a great character. He's a very complex character, especially with all of the brainwash stuff and the Winter Soldier stuff. He's a very complex character. I really enjoy him, and he comes in number 22 on my list. Coming in number 21 is Captain Marvel. A lot of people are going to flame me in the comments for this one, but I tend to enjoy the Captain Marvel character. We've only really learned about her in these last two movies, not including Far From Home, but her origin, Captain Marvel, and Endgame. And she doesn't play a big part in Endgame at all. She's hardly in it, but her origin is so interesting in the way they go about it and just how powerful she is. Really move her up on this list. I mean, you know, you have to move some of these characters up because they are so powerful. But that's not all of it. I do enjoy the origin of Carol Danvers and where she came from. I do really like that and enjoy that. So overall, I think Brie Larson's good as Captain Marvel. A lot of people don't like her, but I do. That's whatever. And I think she's a very complex, dynamic character that has a very interesting arc. I'm looking forward to seeing Captain Marvel 2 and seeing how she continues to gel with the Avengers. And she comes in at number 21 on my list. And coming in at number 20 is Scarlet Witch. Again, another very complex character and one of the most powerful characters in the MCU. Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch is great. She has one of the bigger stories is her relationship to Vision, and she has to go through those trials and tribulations of Vision dying in Infinity War. That was one of the most emotional scenes in that movie, and she did such great things, accomplished such great things acting-wise with that. And in general, I think she's just a very interesting, complex character that I would love to learn more about, and obviously we're going to, because she's going to have a side leading role in the Doctor Strange movie, and she's going to have her own series, WandaVision. So I'm very much looking forward to learning more about her. She could easily move up higher in the list as time goes on, but right now she comes in number 20 on my list. I'm going to kind of just whip through these a little bit faster. I'm going to try to get to the top 10 because we've been going pretty slow and this video is already really long. So we're going to just kind of go through a few of them pretty quickly. At number 19 we have Drax. He's a good Guardian. I like him. I think his story is interesting, but he's not as interesting as some of the other ones. He is a complex character, but he's really just kind of used as a comedic piece now, which I don't really like. He should be higher up on the list, but due to the fact that he's really used just for comic relief, he is down at number 19. Coming in at number 18 is Nebula. Originally, I had her down lower on the list, but her journey as an anti-hero to now sort of a hero with the Avengers is really great, very dynamic, very complex and interesting, and I tend to enjoy that. I really like her arc. I think she's great, and she comes in at number 18 on my list. Coming in at number 17 is Adult Groot. Now, he just says, I am Groot, but the whole Guardians movie gets us to the point where Groot sacrificing himself makes for like the most emotional scene in that film. I think the Groot character in general is very interesting, including teen and baby Groot, but I tend to like the regular Groot better. That's just kind of a personal preference, and he comes in at number 17 on my list. Coming in at number 16 is Star-Lord. Now, I was considering putting Star-Lord higher, but when I looked back at the list, honestly, he just fell lower because I thought the characters above him were more complex and interesting. I love the Peter Quill story. I think he does have a very complex, interesting character arc and storyline. Very interested to see how Guardians Volume 3 continues with his story in particular. I'm very interested to see how he kind of, we never really saw how he coped with the whole revelation about Ego and his mother, and I'm very interested to see how that goes. And he comes at number 16 on my list. Coming in number 15 is Loki, another anti-hero. We're talking about anti-heroes, and I love Loki. He's one of my favorite characters in the MCU. He's got one of the most interesting overall character arcs in the entire MCU. He's, in the end, he is a hero in my book. And, of course, he died in Infinity War, but he's getting a TV series called Loki, but it's not going to be the Loki that we know. It's going to be a different Loki, so I'm looking forward to that. Tom Hiddleston is just a top high-class actor. He really is. And yeah, comes in at number 15 on my list. Coming in number 14 is Yondu. This one was kind of difficult for me because he's more of a side character for most of the movies, but he shows the love and compassion to Peter that turns him. He could have been a very one-sided character, but the love for Peter and the kind of good that comes in him around the end makes him a very dynamic and complex character. And I really like that for him. And I think his arc really ended nicely in Guardians Volume 2 when he sacrificed himself to keep Peter alive. And overall, that was a great ending to his arc. I really enjoy him. And he comes at number 14 on my list. Coming at number 13 is Nick Fury. Nick Fury's been there since the start, literally since Iron Man 1. He's a great character that is in pretty much every movie at this point. And the reason he's so high is because he's the mastermind behind the Avengers Initiative. In Captain Marvel, you learn kind of the origins of that initiative itself. And in general, he's just a very interesting character that is still really shrouded in mystery. We don't know that much about him. I don't think we'll ever get a Nick Fury movie. I highly doubt it. But I'd love to learn more about his origin. It's nice. It's definitely nice to see him in Captain Marvel. We do learn more about him. But overall, great character. Samuel L. Jackson was the perfect casting for him, and he comes in number 13 on my list. Coming in number 12 is Gamora. So the Gamora is another very complex character. She's got a very complex arc because she starts out as a daughter of Thanos, and she flips. Not like quickly, but you could sense that in her she felt guilt. She didn't really believe in the cause that her dad was trying to push for. And that tends to lead to a very interesting arc that she has, where she goes off with the Guardians, then in Infinity War she gets kidnapped by Thanos, and then she ends up meeting her demise. But then she comes back in Endgame. It's an earlier version of herself, and then at that point she flips again and helps the Avengers once again defeat Thanos. Well, not once again, for the first time. Actually, it is for the second time. Defeat Thanos. She's got one of the most interesting character arcs. I really enjoy her. Zoe Saldana is great as Gamora. Very interested to see where her character goes in Guardians Volume 3. Right now, she's missing. No one knows where she is. They're trying to find her. But she comes in number 12 on my list. Coming in at number 11 is Rocket. If you got to talk about biggest, most emotional roller coaster ride character arcs, look no further than Rocket Raccoon. He starts off as a character that just is the meanest person, selfish, out for money person you could ever meet. And in the end, he turns into one of the most selfless, I don't even know how to explain it. I love his arc so much. Rocket is one of my favorite characters. He's just missed the top 10, but he's definitely in the top 15. And he's got one of the best arcs where you see, and especially in Infinity War, he's fantastic in Infinity War, where you really get to see the inside of what he's feeling, what he's thinking, and you really see that he's much more of a complex character than just someone trying to get stuff for money. He is. I love him. He's great, and he comes at number 11 on my list. Now we're in the top 10. Now I'm going to try to keep the pace up, but I will try to get into more detail with the top 10. And coming in at number 10 is Ant-Man. I think the Ant-Man story is great because he's not really an anti-hero. He's not, but he starts out as a criminal. He does. And Hank Pym sees something in him to take over the Ant-Man mantle, and he does. And he turns into a criminal that loves his daughter. He goes from that to a superhero that loves his daughter and wants his family to be safe. And I find that it's one of the cutest, most heartfelt arcs in all of the MCU, and I love it. He's great. He comes at number 10 on my list. Coming in at number 9 is the Hulk. Now, I'm not usually the biggest fan of the Hulk, but from a character standpoint, he is one of the most interesting characters. And he's had the most drastic transformation over the years. Starting out as a regular human, then he became the Hulk, then he would be able to go back and forth between the Hulk and Bruce Banner, then he was the Hulk for a long time, then he was Banner for a long time, and then we go into Endgame and he is Professor Hulk. And overall, Bruce Banner as a character is more interesting than the Hulk because he's trying to live with something he doesn't want. He didn't want to be the Hulk. He didn't. And I find that arc very interesting. I really like it. Mark Ruffalo's great, and it comes at number 9 on my list. Coming in number 8 is Hawkeye. Now, Hawkeye is very interesting because he doesn't have the spotlight really at all. The reason he's higher up on my list than most people would probably put him is his character arc in Endgame. I think Jeremy Renner he has his best performance in Endgame by far. You see a broken man in Endgame, and you see that he is willing to do whatever it takes to bring his family back and save everyone. He is the epitome of a hero. I am very much looking forward to his Disney Plus series, really learning more about him, because like I said, he's been in the shadows most of the time. He's been in the shadow of the core 3 Avengers. But overall, I love him. Jeremy Renner's great. Comes at number 8 on my list. Coming in at number 7 is Black Widow. Black Widow's been there since basically the start. Iron Man 2, she's been here. And she's had a great character arc in she wants to do good. She wants the red on her ledger to be clean, but it's not to be selfish. She doesn't want to be known by her mistakes. She wants to be known by the good that she does. And in Endgame, she was able to finally, I would say, clear all of the red off of her ledger by sacrificing herself to get the Soul Stone. Scarlett Johansson has been a staple in the MCU, again, since Iron Man 2. I am very, very excited to see the Black Widow movie coming out next year. We're really going to get to learn a lot about her origin. She comes at number 7 on my list. Coming in at number 6 is Black Panther. Black Panther is just a great character overall, is the epitome of a hero, I would say, yes, and just has one of the greatest stories to date. He's really torn with the fact that a lot of stuff is covered up in the history of Wakanda, especially the story of Killmonger's dad getting murdered by T'Chaka, who's T'Challa's dad, and never knowing about that. So he kind of, in his origin movie, is torn with that weight on his shoulders. And you see someone that has to get through that and fight for good, because in the end, even though Killmonger may have some points that are right, he is doing evil things. I think Chadwick Boseman is great as Black Panther. He does a great job. I really enjoy him, and he comes at number 6 on my list. Before we get into the top 5, let me know down below in the comments, what is your favorite MCU hero of all of the ones I have listed? Again, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, let's get into the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Doctor Strange. Now, I said it in a ranking earlier this year that in the first Doctor Strange movie, I didn't like the character of Stephen Strange. I didn't. I thought he was really arrogant. I thought he was just not good. I didn't like him. But over the movies, this has been the drastic, for me, the character I have drastically learned to like more and more, and really understand his motives and understand where he's coming from. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is great as this character. His arc is one of the most interesting ones, and I'm really looking forward to his movie. I want to learn more about all of this mystical arts. He's great, and he comes at number 5 on my list. Coming in at number 4 is Thor. Talk about an absolute whirlwind of just a story of Thor. He loses his mom, loses his dad. He can't find his love. His hammer is destroyed. He loses his home of Asgard. His brother dies. Just all of this. And he is a broken man. I would say that Chris Hemsworth gets his best performance in Infinity War. You see a broken human being / god in Infinity War. The thing I like so much about Thor is that, yes, he's a god, and in the first Thor, he's pretty arrogant, but he shows signs of being human, having regular emotions. And I think that that's really interesting because, again, he is a god. He could be arrogant. He could be all-powerful, but he feels like humans feel. And I really respect that, and I really appreciate that from the way that Hemsworth portrays Thor. I love Chris Hemsworth. I'm really looking forward to his movie. He's getting a 4th movie, which is great. Taika Waititi's back. He comes at number 4 on my list. Coming in at number 3 is Spider-Man. A lot of people are going to rail me for this. That's fine. I don't care. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. What more can I say about it? He's the best live-action rendition of Spider-Man so far. Put that in writing. That's what I say. He brings a childish high school teenager behavior while also keeping composed and being mature enough to take on these challenges he's had to take on so far. He's been through everything, you know. He's been through everything. He does have his parents. He lost Uncle Ben. You don't see him in these movies, but it's you know, because he's just living with Aunt May. But also, he is the most, I'd say, most emotionally driven Spider-Man. You see that a lot in Far From Home. He really shows a lot of emotion in Far From Home with Tony being gone and all of that. But overall, I think he's just a fantastic Spider-Man. He is. He's great. I think he's awesome. He's great. Comes at number 3 on my list. Coming at number 2 is Captain America. What more can I say? He's America's soldier. He's the greatest super soldier ever to be known. He's the most selfless, just this character in all of the MCU. Chris Evans will forever be Captain America in my heart. He finally gets to live the life that he wants to, finally, after all these years, go off with Peggy, but, you know, he sacrificed so much for the lives of everyone else. And he's got one of the best arcs of all of them. I love him. Gonna miss him. He comes at number 2 on my list. But of course, at number 1 is Iron Man. I mean, he's my favorite character in the MCU. Tony Stark has had the most drastic of all of these characters. The most drastic changes of a character. He has had the most interesting story arc of any character. I'm going to sometime this year, maybe next year, do a video essay on Tony Stark's character arc and why it's the most interesting character arc in the MCU. He's been through everything. He's been through anxiety. He's been through the world hanging on his shoulders. And in the end, he's the one to make the sacrifice play for the world. And he's the reason why I love the MCU so much. He's my favorite character. I'm gonna miss him. I really am. But he comes in at number 1. Be all end all number 1 on my list. That's pretty much it, guys. Again, let me know down below in the comments, what is your favorite MCU hero? Is it Iron Man like mine? Captain America? It could be any one of them. But let me know down below in the comments. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching this really long video. I'm going to try to edit it down as much as I can. But I love talking about superhero movies, especially the MCU. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.